Good afternoon everyone and welcome to the M Word. My name's Robin and I'm the Technical Director of Man & Machine in the UK, and it's great to have you with us this afternoon to look at Revit Railings. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of these. Apologies, my better half Mrs Beals was a little bit poorly, so I was at home looking after her, but we're back this week and we've picked Revit Railings just because it was the runner-up, so to speak, in the poll that we had on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago. So those of you that are new to these sessions, welcome, first of all. The idea behind these is really a bit of a tea or coffee or indeed anything else break to essentially sit and talk to you about a tip or a trick or a workflow inside of one of the Autodesk tools that we support, whether it's on the manufacturing and fabrication side or the construction side as well. I'm still getting used to the new studio here, so I've moved some things around from last time, so hopefully it's not too loud. I've moved the microphone a little bit closer because it was a little bit quiet. I'm getting a thumbs up, so thank you very much for that. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll settle in and look at Revit Railings this afternoon. So without any further ado, let's just share my screen and change the camera over, like so. There we go. Perfect. So Revit Railings. So one thing that we looked at a couple of weeks back in Revit was how we use staircases, or how we use the stairs tool on the circulation panel when we're working with Revit. And actually, one of the things that we explained is, regardless of the fact that it's new to a lot of people, the staircase tool isn't that difficult. It's not too problematic to go ahead and run, and actually you can get a pretty good output quite quickly, which is good. And what we're going to look at today is railings. So when you draw those staircases, it will draw the actual stairs itself, but it will also place railings along those stairs. So what we're going to look at today is how we create our own types of railing and how those tools work. And then naturally, whether you want to draw a railing on its own or whether you want to draw a railing as part of a stair, it will work and it will do kind of what you want it to do, which is great. If you like this content, give us a like, give us a subscribe, leave some comments, check out the rest of our YouTube channel. We've got a whole load of other videos on there like this one, and probably better because they're not me going on about the same stuff over and over again. But yeah, give us a like and give us a subscribe and let us know your feedback. Tell us the kind of content that you want to see. So without any further ado, I'm a little bit bemused, which is why I'm delaying, because my preview's gone. So I hope I'm still streaming. I think I am. I can hear myself through someone else's headphones, so I think we're okay, but my preview has disappeared. So if I pause and look strangely at that in that direction, wondering what's going on, it's because I haven't got a clue what's going on because I can't see. But hopefully you're still with me. So railings. You can find the railing tool under the circulation panel in Revit. So it's right next to the stair tool. And again, when you place a ramp or when you place a stair, it will always create a railing against those components. So understanding how to create your own types of railing is quite important, and it certainly works really nicely. So if we go and have a look at the railing placement, when we choose to place a railing, much like everything else in Revit, we have our type selector over on the left-hand side. And before I draw anything, I'm just going to go ahead and just go into edit type, because really this is where, much like the stair tool, you need to get your head around this interface and identify how these different set of tools really allow you to create and customize the type of railing that you want to create. And we're just going to talk through the way in which the default ones are set up here, because actually when you understand that, it's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. So this pipe railing here, let's just draw one just to show you what they look like. So we're just going to place one on a straight line just here. Let's do a 5 meter run of railing and just hit tick just to create this railing, and then go and let's hide these level markers. They're not really that important for what we're showing today. And we'll just get that over to the side and open up our type selector just to the side here so we can see one versus the other. So what we have under our construction property set within the type properties is we've got these two sections here. We've got rail structure and then we've got baluster placement. So we're going to start at the top. So under rail structure, what we have is a almost like a layered structure. It's not too dissimilar to when you're building up system families like walls or like floors. So what we have is the ability to create any number of different rails. Each one of those rails can have a name, it can have a height, and it can have an offset. And then most importantly, it has a profile assigned to it, and a material should you want it to have a material assigned. So in other words, these rails, 1, 2, 3, 4, are controlled with these layers here. Okay, we have the height of each one. So the first one's at 100 mil, the second one's at 300, then 500, then 700, and then each one, in this case, are using a 30 mil profile. Now, remember those profiles in Revit, a little bit like, I can't remember which episode, but we looked at walls, and we looked at how to build up the sectional detail of a wall, and looked at how we can maybe create coping detail on the top of the wall with a profile. So a profile in Revit is a family, so it's still an RFA, but it's literally just the 2D shape, so a triangle shape or a circular shape or a square shape. So it's a 2D profile that we extrude. So all Revit's doing to build up the main structure of this railing is it's taking a profile and it's extruding it, the length of the railing, okay? At a given height, in this case, and with a given material. So let's say that for argument's sake, we want this to only have 3 railings. I want to get rid of this one here, this second one. I'm going to select rail 2. I'm just going to delete it and hit apply. Okay. If we hit apply and OK and apply again, you can see that this middle one has now been deleted. Okay. So those rail structures are making up everything that's going on between, let's say, the floor and the underneath of your actual railing profile itself, your handrail. They're really easy to add, so you just select where you want it to be added and click Insert. We give it a name, so if we put that one back in, let's call it Rail 2. We give it a height, it was at 500 for the purpose of this. And then we give it a profile. So load your profile in first inside of Revit using the Insert Load Family button. Once the profile's in there, go ahead and select it. But again, you can use anything. So for argument's sake, if I put this fascia panel in there and say apply, OK, apply, you can see it takes that sort of square fascia profile and pulls it through. So with this in mind, the world's your oyster to a certain degree. You can create as much of a custom shape as you may want to or may not want to. And that's how you can start to get these glass-filled balustrade or panel-filled balustrade or whatever it is that you're looking for. But what we have is a pattern structure. It takes the profiles at a given height and it extrudes them around that particular railing. So first and foremost, really straightforward. The second thing you then have is the baluster placement. So that's looking at the placement of these balusters along the railing. And if we look at editing that, sorry, I'm just going to go and grab a chair. Tired legs today. Hopefully that's not too annoying for the camera. I told you these sessions would be warts and all. So with the baluster placement, it kind of works in the same way, but you basically have a main pattern and then posts. The main pattern is looking at what happens at the start, what happens at the end, and then what's your, if you like, your regular placement of components. So we have a start point, and then in this case we're saying I want, after my pattern has started, I want this regular baluster. I've got this particular family, the base, the offset, the top, the offset, and then a distance from previous. So what this is going to do after the pattern starts, it's going to place one of these balusters every meter. If I change that to every 500 millimeters, hit apply and OK a couple of times, we get more of them. Okay, as you would expect. It's now patterning that every 500 mil rather than every meter. Okay, and we can pretty much change this on the fly and start getting our preview updated for us, which is really, really nice. Alongside that, again, it's just using a family. So those families can be controlled in any way that you want to. So we have a baluster family type. I've got a handful loaded here, but you can go and create your own. Just create your families in the same way that we've shown in previous episodes. Save them as a baluster type and we can load them in and use them. Again, we can control, whether the host is the base for that baluster is going to be the host, or is it going to be on top of railing 1 or on top of railing 2, and we can control where those components are going to be positioned. So as we come through and control that pattern, we can be really quite specific about how it places and structures those balusters. So we always have a start and an end, and then in between that, it's taking this one, it's going from the top rail every meter. Okay, and we can control exactly from railing 2 every meter. So we can really control in a lot of detail how this is working and create all sorts of weird and wonderful shapes. We've got some justification, so when do you want to break the pattern? At every section end it's going to start the pattern again, for example, or is it angles greater than 45 or angles greater than 90? So you can control when that pattern resets and starts again from 0 with a start post and then your, in my case, placement every meter. We have some justification options and some excess length. So if you've got an excess length, do you want to fill it with a specific component, and then you have the spacing of that component as well. You then have your post set up. So once you've configured everything else, we then essentially define what's your start post, what's your end post, and what's your corner post going to be. And again, they are completely separate to everything that happens on that main pattern. So in here, I actually want my, my start and end post to be different. So I'm going to grab this steel flat upright here and hit apply and OK. And you can see that I've got a completely different type of component, which is this steel upright at the start and the end of my railing. We can then come in here and look at the structure, and we can change the corner post. So the corner post here I've currently got as a 25 mil baluster. Let's go in and say that I actually want to have the same steel flat upright in a corner. And then if we go ahead and create a corner, so let's come in and create similar and draw, actually let's not create similar, let's cancel that. Let's change the path for this one and add a corner in. I'm going to do that in 3D rather than in 2D. Let's just go across like so. And what you'll see is start post, corner post, end post. And then here's your main pattern. Okay. So really using this kind of build up of functionality, we can go in and create any kind of different element that we want. If we look at the same thing in one of the more specific build-ups of component, so let's go to railing and maybe look at the same thing against the glass panel bottom. Again, these are all completely off the shelf. If I draw, again, just that straight element there, go into 3D and look, we have our start and our end, and then we have our main pattern. Then this will be the excess, okay? So if we select it and look at our edit type, go into our rail structure, we have two rails, rail 1 and rail 2. That's this one here and this one here, okay? Always from the bottom to the top, this one and this one. These are 20mm profiles. They have no material. We could change the material if we wanted to, so I've wanted them to be stainless steel or gold or chrome or something like that. We can come in here and change the color specifically, okay? But again, it's all controlled, so I can come and change the height of that bottom rail like so to be something slightly different, and it will place that further down. Okay, so we've got complete control over everything with regards to those components. For this one, we obviously have these glass panels, so the way that works is with the baluster placement is, again, you've got your start and your end. And in this case, you've got two components as part of your pattern. The first component is this steel upright. Okay, so that's these components here. So it's going to place those uprights. Those uprights are then going to be controlled by the top rail. So it's going from one to the other. Okay, from the host up to the underside of the top rail. And then we've got our glazed panel. Okay, so our glazed panel is 100mm from the floor. It's going up to rail 1 with an offset of -100, so under 100mm under that top rail. We've then got the distance from the previous components every 400. We've then got center justified. We're not filling any excess with anything, so any excess space is just going to be empty. And then we've got our start, corner and end post. And with that, Revit will go ahead and it will create and build our railings for us. So the process is relatively straightforward. As long as you have a railing family or a baluster family that controls or works in the way that you're wanting to work it. To control the top rail here, if we go back into edit type, scroll down a little more, so under the construction, if we come down, we've got this top rail, okay? So we can choose whether or not to use the top rail, first of all. It's going to error because I have some constraints against that top rail. I was telling Revit, use that top rail to place components off, which is why I got the error. But the top rail allows us to have an overall, overarching, centralized, this is my handrail, for example. Okay, so I can go in and control that top rail. We also have separate options in here for handrail 1 and handrail 2, which I can come in and control should I want to. Okay, so you've got a whole additional layer of control that you can add for these components if you want to put them in. For instance, if I say handrail 1 and add a type and say, okay, for this particular type of handrail, we can go in and control what that is. Okay, so we can come in and choose how that particular construction works, what profile it is, what material it is, the extension style, so on and so forth, and we can get it to start building all of that information up for handrail 1. If you can see what that's done, it's given me now the ability to control the position. So I can say the position is on the left, the position is on the right, And those of you with eagle eyes will notice that now I have this, wall handrail has appeared. The wall handrail is giving me these different almost supports coming out as well. So alongside your overall construction and top rail placement, we can also have different handrails. The handrails have their own control. So they have their own construction, which have their own profiles. It has their own extension information, their own supports information. So we can literally start stapling this together to create any level of different railing type that we want. So if we just wanted to have, for example, a wall-mounted rail for a staircase, we'd have next to nothing within our construction environment, but we would be using handrail 1 and or handrail 2 to be able to control those wall-mounted railings, if you like. So we can come in here and control, exactly what it is that we want to have and how we want to have it. If we want to turn that off again, we can just come in here and type in none. He says, turn that off, none. Can I type in none? Maybe I can't. I think we just turn it off. There we go. And that will turn that component off. So we've got a lot of control. Now remember that those railings then are used on anything that uses a railing. So if I place a ramp, I'm going to be really lazy and just place one just there. Press OK. That ramp uses a railing. Those railings are the same as these railings. So the same level of control that you had for one, you will have the other. Okay, so they are one and the same thing. We can control them in the exact same way. The same with the staircase. So if I come in and place a staircase, and I just draw a straight set of stairs like so, select the tick, we once again have that same railing control. If I wanted to change one for, again, a wall-mounted railing, I could come in, let's maybe duplicate one, hit OK. I can come in and start taking components out of the structure of this, apply an OK. I can start taking the baluster placement off of this so that we have no balusters, and then we can have, have we got a none option on here? Yeah, up the top, change all these to none, which will basically give me an empty railing. From that railing, we can then say, well, don't use the top rail, but for handrail 1, I want to use a pipe wall mount, and I want to have that on the left. If I press apply and OK, what this will do is it will place a wall-mounted pipe banister on the left-hand side. Okay, so you've got all of those different areas of control, and it really allows you to do, within reason, whatever it is that you want it to do with those components. So a really, really powerful tool. And that's kind of all I wanted to go through today. I'm a little bit conscious that we haven't taken the whole half an hour, which is a first, I guess, which is great. But yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell, how to use railings inside of Revit. They are pattern based. We create our baluster families, we create our profile families, and then we use the construction options to pattern them after a start post, a corner post, and an end post. So hopefully that's been useful, and it's giving you some tips and tricks on how to get started with the railing placement. But once it works on its own, it will work against a staircase, it will work against a railing, and vice versa. So go away, have a play. If you have any comments, drop us some feedback, ask us a question, and most importantly, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, give us a like, give us a subscribe, let us know what kind of content that you want to see. I'd urge all of you to head over to our LinkedIn channel and follow us on LinkedIn. We're going to start putting up polls every Monday, which essentially gives you a list of options that we could run for these sessions on a Thursday. Simply vote for your chosen session, and if that session wins, we will present on that topic for our M-Word session on the Thursday. But really, without me droning on too much more about the same thing, that's it for this week. I hope it was useful. I hope you've had a productive week, and I do hope the rest of the week treats you well. Enjoy the weekend, and I will see you at the same time next Thursday for the next episode of the M-Word. Thank you very much, take care, and see you soon. Bye.